Greetings, viewers. This is King H. Welcome to my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Today, the discussion has to do with Joe Biden's new world order. The United States has allied with Britain and Australia to form a new anti-China grouping. The United States, Britain, and Australia have announced what is in effect a new Anglo military alliance. So, the so-called Joe Biden's new world order is an Anglo military alliance between US, Australia, and Britain, three nations that are all Anglo-Saxon. In 2016, Australia struck a deal with France to buy nuclear power vessels. In March this year, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison began talking with Washington about reversing its decision. In a live three-way public announcement, Biden, Morrison, and British Prime Minister revealed that Australia would scrap their agreement with France to team up with Britain and US instead, forming a new AUKUS military alliance. You see, Australia scrapped a deal that they had with France to create a new deal with the United States. But French Africa cannot make new deals with other countries like Russia without France getting involved and bullying and saying, no, you can't do that. But in an independent nation like Australia, they can actually scrap the deal they made with France to create a new deal with another nation. And all France can do is become more apoplectic, more enraged. And this the enraged that they're going through, this enragement that they're going through will be felt in French African nations like Mali, where the new leader of Mali has decided to make deals with Russia, but France is not having it. Because French African nations are not free from France. They must do as France says. Because France is the control of them. Because France is the bully. No. Because France is the dictator to French African nations. French African nations cannot make deals without involving France. But Australia can cancel the deal, and all they can do is get angry. The country's Minister of European and Foreign Affairs called the decision a knife in the back. Well, I like that knife in the back because France has been putting a lot of knife in the back on French African nations. The currency of French African nations is in control by France. French African nations cannot make decisions without involving France. They must involve France. As Biden pointed out, that the three nations have fought together for the most of the past 100 years and have and are core members of the Five Eyes intelligence, sharing alongside with Canada and New Zealand. Biden's vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific, in other words, free of Chinese domination. There's a reason why Joe Biden had to get out of Afghanistan. And the reason was because of China, because of the growth of China's domination in the world. The United States had been sidetracked with, oh, yeah, it was sidetracked with the Middle East and Afghanistan fighting war for 20 years. Meanwhile, China has been growing in power. And China doesn't have alliances because China is a big nation. They think the world needs them, they don't need the world. And that could be their downfall because nations like the United States, Australia, Britain, Japan, India, New Zealand, Canada, who have been working together for over 100 years, cannot just give the world's control or dominance to China. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to be a walk in the park. China's foreign minister spokesperson said this move seriously undermined regional peace and stability. And the country's embassy in Washington accused Britain, Australia, and US of having a Cold War mentality. I think by now China should know that they are facing a Cold War they're facing a Cold War with the United States. The Cold War between the US and Russia is not as intense as the Cold War between US and China. Because Russia and US go ways back. They have fought their Cold Wars. And anyway, the United States won those Cold Wars because Russia had to be split. Because Russia was USSR. And due to the Cold War, they lost part of their nations. And then what's left is Russia. And although Russia is not a weak nation, but Russia cannot go through another intense Cold War like the past. So now the Cold War is with China versus United States. And you think that this decision is creating a Cold War mentality? No. You're already at Cold War because US sees the power China has, the influence that China has. China is trying to overtake the Western powers to become the supreme nation of the world. And a nation that has been acting or has been the supreme nation in the past 100 years will not just allow that to just happen like that. Come on. You expect to have resistance. Japan, India, and Australia is another pillar of Washington's Chinese containment policy. So the US have a roadmap. China is saying that they must have Thailand. Thailand is part of their province, but not Thailand. Taiwan, not Thailand. Yeah, they must have Taiwan. Just as they have false Hong Kong. But doing that is just creating an extreme Cold War that might become very, very explosive. To the United States and the allies of the United States, like Australia, Britain, Chinese power must be contained. And the reason why they decided to drop the war they've been fighting for 20 years in Afghanistan was because Chinese power must be contained. That is the goal. It's already a Cold War. China knows that. And the more strategy China comes up to fight, the more this will prolong. The end of the war in Afghanistan, the prioritization of the old Anglo alliance over the Europe are all grand strategy to fight China. Africa, you must watch as this unfold so as to learn and grow the power of China, because if we don't grow our power, we'll be caught in between two gigantic multinational nations that are fighting for supremacies. And if we don't learn and grow our own power, well, we'll be caught in between, and then it's our fault. The strategy to grow the power of Africa is there. It's based on region, not based on African Union, because the African Union is useless. We cannot just have one African Union controlling Africa, but with the 5 regions. We can also include the 6th region. But with the 5 region, we can create strong military by creating strong economy. With strong economy, we can have strong military. But if we don't have a strong economy, our military will be weak. And if the countries, the 54 countries in Africa do not work based on their region, then when this war or this Cold War happens, we'll be caught in between two gigantic nations fighting for dominance. And whatever happens will affect Africa. And the key to making it happen is to look at the weakest link of the Western power, which is France, that is choking French Africa, to cut the link from France by any means necessary. France is angry, and France is gonna come hard on Mali and any other French African nations that is fighting to bring other nations like Turkey or Russia in to make deals with, because if they allow that in their own territory, because they see French African nation as their own, we might claim, oh, we are no longer in colonization, or neo-colonization still exists, and blah blah blah. But the fact is, France knows that they own French Africa, which is why they call it French Africa. But we are supposed to be free countries, independent countries that is supposed to make an independent decision without involving France. Why is it that when French African nations try to make decisions like Mali, France tried to butt in? Africa must wake up. Power is the key. and to create power. Nations within Africa must work together based on their region. That is the only way Africa can survive. That is the way Africa must survive, or we will perish. This is King H. Till next time.